we had spring and then it snowed. It may have done it for you in Chicago, but I thought I'd work from home and the internet wasn't working. So my apologies, but thanks for having me back today. I like talking about the difference between the accumulator and the protector because the conversation often goes, how do I know which one to pick when I'm running it? Okay, so what I want to do is I want to try to find a way to make it as easy as possible. So what we do, we have the accumulator and the protector here. There's some slides that I want to kind of just go through because we've talked about it. I do want to point out that we are a Fortune 53 company now. It came out about a month ago, so that's something that I'm really proud of. Financial stability. We get straight A's across the board, so the question always comes up. The clients are concerned about, you know, will this company be there when it's my turn to get paid? Will these A ratings are a direct result of the claims paying ability of Nationwide. So we're going to be there for the long haul, okay? So some of these numbers are a little bit old, but what I want to pay attention to is in the middle of the screen here, we have 60% of all the business that you guys write with the IULs is going to be the accumulator. All right, so that's big. So I'm going to spend most of my time talking about that. And what I had heard earlier was fun listening to the prior presenter. You guys actually do almost half of our business, way more than our own Nationwide agents. I did want to back that up. It is an impressive number. So that's awesome. But what we have here is we have two different products to choose from. I wish I can tell you a blanket answer that tells you when to always choose one and when to always choose the other, but you're really never going to do that. Just like I would expect you guys to run comparison between different companies, it's always good to maybe run it between just different products with the same company because you never know. But I'll try to make it as easy as possible. What we have here is when we're looking for income, the keyword income, we're going to go with the accumulator, all right, more often than not. When we're looking for affordability, we're looking at the protector, all right? So who am I thinking about when I'm thinking about the accumulator? I use three words here: young, healthy, and wealthy, okay? So those are the kind of people that I think about when I'm thinking about the accumulator. As far as the protector, we're looking for affordability. Maybe it's a young couple who's got a family, who doesn't have a lot of discretionary income, can't really weather the ups and downs of a product. We can work into a guarantee to really kind of safeguard against market downturn. Or on the other end of the spectrum, we have somebody close to retirement or even in retirement. They don't really have the time to weather the storm either. And so we offer guarantees just in case to give that safety net. So that's kind of big picture when I want to look at it. Here, we do have the scale as far as where does the accumulator rank with our other products as far as aggressiveness with cash accumulation. The variable products have no caps, and therefore they have better growth potential. But when you're dealing with someone like me or many of the people that we talk to, we love the idea of growth, but I am very, very loss averse. So the IUL was created to give a guarantee against market loss. And that's what we're here for. And so on the other end of the spectrum, the way that a company is able to guarantee against loss is we cap the returns on the upside. Okay, but that's something for me who's conservative, a little bit more loss averse. That's you know, a give and take that I'm happy to do. On the other side, we're looking at the protector. As far as affordability standpoint, we have the no lapse guarantee, which is kind of like a name your own duration term product. There's no cash value to it, but oftentimes we want a product with cash value, even if we're not overfunding, even if we're not maximum funding, and that's where the IUL protector comes in. Right? We talked about the demographic being someone who doesn't have a whole lot of discretionary income, and they're just funding enough to guarantee it. But by the time that they're 65, we're not going to have a cash value like we would if we were max funding it. But the cash value allows us to maybe pivot our goal here. All right, I was 65, I needed or when I got the policy, I was 35, I had kids, I needed death benefit. But now that I'm 65, I've got a cash value. I'm going to pivot that into a long-term care product like Care Matters, so I can get leverage my long-term care. So having that cash value there is a good thing to have, even if we're moderately funding it just enough to pay the guarantees. Okay. So I get the question a lot, what makes the Protector so efficient? It's all about affordability, all right? With both of our products, we're going to have the 15% multiplier. The way I think about the multiplier, it's a way that we're able to match an index strategy's performance. So I think about my paycheck, all right, my 401k. Nationwide is nice because they do a match program. And if you've ever worked for a company that has a match program, that's the company's money matching a certain percentage of your contributions to encourage savings. And that's exactly what Nationwide does here. With companies, they match anywhere from 1% to 6%. With Nationwide's multiplier for the index strategies, we match up to 15%. So what does that mean as far as index strategies concerned? When a index strategy matures, we look to see how much credit it has gained. Let's just use an easy number, a round number for me. Let's say that it gained $1,000 of credit. Well, before we give you that $1,000, Nationwide actually puts 15% match in, $150 into that, and then gives you the money, all right? When I get my paycheck, there's a few things that I look at. I look at how much I made, I look at how much I got, and I look at how much Nationwide put into my 401k. It's somebody else's money going into the account, and I'm a big fan of that. So the next thing that we have that's going to be unique to the Protector and what makes it so efficient is we've got a 25% cost of insurance reduction starting in year 21, okay? One of the things we know is someone gets older, the cost of insurance goes up. So in order to offset that, Nationwide gives a 25% cost of insurance reduction. So the way that I put this into the real world for me is if I think about my favorite store and things that I like to spend my money on, if I hear 25% off, my ears perk up. All right, it's a big deal, it's a big savings, and that's how we're able to accumulate so much cash value in the Protector. All right, and what we're also able to do is do a no lapse guarantee to guarantee it for the younger couples who can't afford to dump money in, or someone close to retirement who needs to be a little bit conservative with their funds. All right, we won't go through the index strategies unless you guys have any specific questions at the end. But like we said, who is our target audience? Who are we looking for? Why am I choosing the Protector? I'm really looking for someone looking for affordable coverage, okay, who are looking for lifetime guarantees. All right, so family protection, income protection, even estate planning. All right, recently our estate planning exemptions, I think, almost doubled, if not doubled. So someone having assets outside of estate planning exemptions, they'd have to have a lot, but having a policy like this could help pay the estate taxes that would become due. All right, and we can also do long-term care with this. So if somebody's near retirement, add the long-term care benefit would be helpful. Okay, so I want to talk about the accumulator. I love the accumulator the best because it's what you guys sell 60% of your focus that you do at Nationwide is here. So we're still going to have the multiplier. We have Nationwide checking to see how your index strategy did and matching up to 15%. But we've got a second way to get Nationwide's money, and that's through its own specific rewards program. And that's 20 basis points that they add to the entire value of the account. All right, so starting in year 16, Nationwide goes in, values the entire account, and based on the entire account, fixed account, any of the index strategies, we match 0.2%. All right, the way I think about this is when you run the illustrations and you look at the growth on it, I think of that 20 basis point adding as kind of like when you're building a snowman. We're all Midwesterners, we've all done it before, is when you're rolling that snowball to create a snowman, you're rolling and it's collecting kind of slow, but as it grows, it starts collecting more and more and more and accumulating more. And that's how this 20 basis points works. And when you run illustrations, you'll see that that number starts contributing more and more starting in 16 and more as it ages there. All right, we've got a lot of index strategies available. I've heard that having 6 or 7 strategies available sometimes gets a little overwhelming picking it. We do have a good time, a few classes that we can talk about how to choose them and when's the right time to choose them to make it less confusing there. So that's something that we'd like to do if you guys want to in the future. But the accumulator, who are we looking for? The sweet spot, and the reason they choose the sweet spot between 30 and 55 is that's generally 30 or 35 is when a professional really starts making their money and through 55 years old. I really don't like to think within that sort of the box, all right? I really think of the accumulator really for everyone, all right? When I was born, when generations before me, I'm 37, when generations before me were being born, whole life was the gift that grandma got you when you were born, okay? Because it had cash value guaranteed. It grew slow, but it was something there for the kid when they graduated, for college, for marriage, first home, maybe even retirement. The IUL has really taken the place of that because it has that downside protection, but more upside potential. Okay, so we're seeing that trend. So don't just think 30, think anyone. Recent college grads are a good one too. They've got their parents co-signed on a lot of their loans. All right, 94% of all college loans have a co-signer. Life insurance will help protect if anything happens to them, that their parents who are close to retirement aren't taking a hit against their retirement by now having to pay those student loans. Okay, that was actually something we did with me and my dad because he signed on my law school loans. Okay, who else are we keeping our eye out for this? All right, really people who lack access to a 401k. All right, we are all business owners. WFG, you guys, in my opinion, all run your own business of financial education for people. If you're not within a corporation, you may not have a structured 401k or qualified plans. As a business owner, you probably know like-minded people who also own their own businesses. Life insurance is a good way to do the retirement planning that they lack access to, all right? People who've maxed out contributions, the 401k has a max of $18,500, IRAs 5,500. So when they meet that, some professionals are easily meet that. So they have more money that they need to find a home for. Okay. Also, what's really important too is the idea of people who want access to cash value a little bit sooner than a 401k. If I were to take any money from my 401k, unless it's for a home or some other purchases, I'll have to pay a penalty. Life insurance, you don't have that. So I often see the cash value being an alternative to maybe an emergency fund. All right, an emergency fund is having between 3 to 6 months of bills on hand. This may be kill two birds with one stone sort of thing. You have that there. The goal is for retirement, but it's there for an emergency. Okay. So one of the things that I wanted to look at, I know that I have a few more minutes. If you guys have any questions, let me know. But I want to look at a few things. I get the question a lot is why I run the accumulator, I run the protector, and I see more cash value in the protector. Why don't I do that if my goal is income? All right. So the whole idea is it's not so much the cash accumulation at a certain age. It's more of how affordable is that income when you take it out. We know when you have taxable investments like stocks, when you're getting that growth, you have to pay taxes, which can be in upwards of 30, 40% depending on your state and federal taxes. So it's more about access to funds. All right. With this, we have, so oftentimes you're going to see and hopefully you can see this if you, it's probably the glare is too much, but so I'll just talk through it. But with the accumulator, you have a 3% charge and 3% credit. So the cash value is never, the cash value is being replenished by its charge. So it's pretty much a wash between the cash value and the loan balance. However, when we look at the protector, I know it's probably hard to see, the charge is 4.9% and the credit's 3%. So the loan balance is growing faster than the cash value and kind of eating up that cash value over time. So we may see more money in the protector sometimes, but the accumulator, we can access that money with less, we have more ease of getting it. So when you're looking at it, you see even with a policy within the same company, it's not seeing what the cash value is at age 70. It's seeing how I can get that money that's going to tell you the real story. So what I have on the screen here is I ran a policy with a female, 47 years old, with $85,000 going in for the first 5 years. This is an actual policy we ran for someone, and we ran it with the protector. And by and I'll zoom in here once I find what I'm looking for. By age 69 years old, in the Protector, we see $560,000, all right, of accumulated value. If I look over to the accumulator, which has the same premium going in, we have, that's actually a lot more. Oh, here we go. I was going to say these numbers. I was looking at the wrong column. We've got 1,052,000 in the Protector, and the accumulator we have 900, or we have 1,043,000 here. All right, so they're roughly the same. But when we look at the accumulator, I'll go down to the totals here. I was able to take out $1,481,000. All right, with the Protector, all things the same, we show a total being taken out of $1,127,000. So $200,000 to $300,000 difference over the life of the policy, even though the cash value was roughly the same. So just really keep it in mind whether you're running different companies or even same policies or within the same company within Nationwide. Just the appearance of the cash value doesn't tell the whole story. It's more of how we get access to it, which takes me back to the beginning of if the main goal is income, if they're talking about income, the accumulator is likely going to be where you find your solution. Okay, there's exceptions to every rule. So if you do find a loophole in it, it happens. So did I have any questions or anything like that? But that's what I wanted to go over on how to choose it and the differences.
I think that's very, very helpful. I learned quite a bit.
Good.
Went over tonight personally. I know some of you may have questions. We have the chat feature that's available. We have Jared for, I still have slated a few more minutes for this. So does anybody have any questions about either of the products? Like, I want to stick to these subjects regarding the accumulator, the Protector, anything that Jared's gone over. You can go through the chat or you can unmute yourself.
And while we're waiting for that too, I do have, if you guys want to, if we don't have any questions, there's an objection that we get a lot about the cost of insurance within a life insurance policy. And if you guys are interested, we can go over overcoming those objections unless you guys have questions over what we just did there.
Any questions? Oh, well, you've been so thorough. Let's cover that, so you've got a few more minutes there. So go ahead and cover that.
Sounds good. So I'm gonna, go ahead.
Maybe there was a question. Yes.
Yeah, this is Pat Callahan. I just wanted to know, would you mind just sharing with the group the importance of running Solve? Because in the past, a lot of agents just ran stuff at Target, but at Nationwide, you don't really use Target too much. But Solve is important to look at, especially when you're using Protector. And understanding the differences of when to run it to, how to run it, maybe alter age 100, 120, that type of thing. I just think it's important because on Protector, you run into more of, hey, what do I need to put in this thing until age 60 and it's taken care of?
Yeah. So with Nationwide, I know the terms are different between different companies. So I want to make clear what the different terms mean. With Nationwide, Solve is just saying how much. So I kind of go through this talking in this language in my head when I'm actually running this. So I say, at whatever I'm running it at 5.65 crediting rate, how much premium do I have to pay to get $200,000 to last to maturity? So when I ask it to Solve, I'm simply asking how much do I need to be putting in at that amount to just get it to survive? You're feeding it enough, okay? So when I do this, I check out. It kind of sets the base for me. I know if I feel comfortable at 5.65, and we're going to change this to the Protector real quick. When I'm running at 5.65, which is just my preference when I'm running this, I like seeing Solve because it kind of sets the tone for what does this need just to get by, okay? And when I run it, taking a little bit longer than I'd like. when I run it, it's telling me that this is a 27-year-old male, $72 monthly to carry this to maturity. Okay, so that just kind of sets the baseline of what I'm dealing with. So now I know, you know, it's probably better to overfund it, because if anything happens to that crediting rate, if it's lower than I expected, we've just kind of essentially minimally funded this. So if I'm dealing with someone who has the ability to pay $100, we may put that amount into the premium just to make sure that they're able to kind of overfund it. Okay, so then the next thing I do is I run it at $100 just to see what the cash accumulation is. When I'm doing this, I also pay attention to what my target premium is. All right. When we say target, we mean what the commissionable payout is. So if I just run this at a solve, it's showing that I'm paying $74 in. With the Protector specifically, I always run to the premium summary here. This tells me a quick snapshot of things that I'm interested in. Mind you that this is a very small policy, but what target premium says is target premium is this TP. I need to get the most I can get paid based off this $714. All right, whatever my percentage in my draw is from that 714. So we want to make sure we're at least funding that per year, and I see that I am. Okay, so I know that my full commissions will get paid. But what I'm also concerned about is the longevity of this policy. So I would look into overfunding it at this point and maybe getting $100 in or more, or perhaps running it with a guarantee. And when I run it at a guarantee, what I do is I put in the extended no lapse guarantee, maybe just guaranteeing it till 90 years old. I go back to the premium, and instead of solve, I do the extended no lapse premium. Okay, how much do I need to guarantee $200,000? It has no bearing on the interest there. And this kind of shows you the difference between cost of this rider. So I needed 75 just to get it by with no guarantee. So if it got anything less than what I was running it, 5.65. And now by adding a guarantee, they pay $20 more. All right. When we're looking at the 5.65 crediting rate, it's modest cash value return, but this is someone who's looking for an affordable coverage because they have a family but not a lot of discretionary funds. So for $20 more, we can safeguard them in the event that the market does poorly and this policy were to reach $0 prior to age 90. So that just kind of, to me, that kind of sets the stage. It allows me to see what's the minimum, what if we guarantee it. I see $20 here. To me, you know what, it sets an expectation. I'm cautious. I want to make sure that this is there when my family needs it. I can afford $20 extra. So that's kind of in the head of Jared on how I think of what I think about when I look at these things and I'm talking with my clients and their goals. So did that answer your question, Pat?
Yes, great. Perfect.
Say,
Great,
Jared,
thank you. And yeah.
Jared, this is Arthur Rich. I just had a quick question. You mentioned the funding rate. I've always let the funding rate be whatever it is on the illustration. I never messed with the funding rate. Are you saying that you can play with the funding rates?
So yeah. So as far as let's see here, the interest rates that we get on this, right here.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you can change that. I like running it at 5.65. And the reason why.
What does the company set it at?
But the company's fine with it because if you just look over to the right, from an AG 49 perspective, we cannot illustrate higher than 6.54. All right. So as long as it's lower than that, the company, it's actually standard here on our internal side of it. And I'll tell you why, and it's a good question, is because when I run these illustrations, I run it with the multiplier, right? So if I'm looking for cash accumulation, I'm running it with the multiplier. So the multiplier is 15% that we add to the performance. If I look here and I actually run it at its max of 6.54, you won't be able to see the multiplier because AG 49 is cutting that performance at a strict 6.54. So like I would recommend with everyone running between different companies, different products, you really want to run it apples to apples. So if company A gets 5.65 and Nationwide gets 5.65, I can see the full effect of the multiplier now in Nationwide's to run them side by side. If they get the same return, what does the multiplier do? Because 5.65 plus 15% actually takes it to about 6.5. To me, that's close enough as far as the math, as far as the maximum I can illustrate while fitting that full multiplier in there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but what does the accumulator now run at? What's the accumulator?
So with the accumulator, I do the same approach there. In fact, I run the accumulator on my end almost exclusively. From just more of a conversation standpoint, there's a lot more to learn from this, but I've got them all set at 5.65 as well. I always run mine at the multi-index with the multiplier. The reason I choose the multi-index, and this is, everybody has their own value system. I like the multi-index because I like the fact that we can lay the risk between the 3 different indexes. So now we're diversifying in that regard. Nationwide gives a preferential treatment, 50% weight to the best, 30 to the second best, 20 to the third best. And then we're also averaging between each month. So I like the multiplier because we're using a lot of averages. And I always use the multiplier because it's Nationwide's money going into the account. So I run it always at 5.65 on the multi-index with the multiplier.
Do you use 100% multiplier normally? How do you set up when you're setting up these interest rates for a client? Mm-hmm. Is there a I can't think of the word I want to use. Is there a good place to start when you run these interest rates for a client? What's the best approach to take?
Well, I like the 5.65, and I'll show you another reason why I like it.
I mean about on the side, the different ones, the multiplier, and then you had all the other ones.
Oh, right here?
Yeah, the crediting on the left, all these. You run the multiplier.
So if we look up here to the top, when I say where's the premium allocation, I have it here 100% going in the multi-index with the multiplier. That's where I start. So when I approach it, the multi-index is a little bit more when I'm wary about the market. So I'm looking at 3 different indexes and I'm putting a little bit different rate. The S&P 500 is maybe 5 years ago, I just saw nothing but expansion with the market. I'm only tracking one index. That one's a little bit more aggressive. So I'll talk to the client about how do you feel about the market? Do you think it's going to go well? Well, some people right now are probably going to respond with, I'm not so sure about the market, because that's what we're reading everywhere, that this expansion is going to end any day. So then you say, well, the multi-index, is a little bit more conservative because now we're not putting all of our eggs in one basket. And then they'll probably respond with, you know what, I agree, let's go in the multi-index, or they'll say, you know what, I'm still going to try to be a little bit more aggressive in the S&P. So that would be what I'd have. And I would really, from a personal standpoint, only look at the ones with the multiplier.
Right.
Okay.
And just as a side note, I can see why you're saying that, because what you just said was a very short-term way of looking at this. But yet, life insurance is a long-term, if you will, investment. And so you have to look, you don't know what's going to happen 10 or 15 years from now.
Yeah. And so that's just, you're right. And so what that is a discussion on what you wanted on day one, but you can go in and change it as the market's changing. So if you start seeing things in a few years, you don't change anything, but in a few years you want to do it, you can change it at any point where your money is going into. So it is kind of short term and you'd want to look long term, but you can kind of, move with how the market's moving if you're got your hand on the pulse of that. Finger on the pulse of the market.
Great, thank you.
No problem. Thanks for the question.
Hey, Jared, since we're kind of running out of time, but if you could maybe share that one quick idea you had, if you can do it in the next couple of minutes, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah.
There's a couple of things you're going to share, and then we'll transition to the second part of our training. But this has been very good tonight, and you really, I think, it's been a lot of good information. So thank you.
Great.
Very
thank you. No problem.
Very, very concise and well put. So I appreciate it.
Great. Thank you. And so with what I'm doing right now, I'm not going to get into the explanation of why I'm choosing to put in the numbers that I have here. We can save that for another conversation. What we're going to really want to pay attention to is the conversation that I want to have here. All right. So when I run this, I'm running for a 45-year-old. So what do I hear more than anything when I'm talking to a WFG advisor is I've got a client. He's an engineer. He's asking how every moving part works and how this runs. I don't know how to answer the question. And really, a lot of the whole conversation can really hinge. You can make or break it on how you approach this conversation. So when I run an illustration, the inner working parts are the cost. Okay, that's where you're going to find what we're looking at. All right, and the conversation, don't test my math. The conversation is still going to run true here, but I do have a calculator. So somebody's going to look at this and they're going to say, why am I doing life insurance? All right, there's a premium charge right here. There's a per policy expense, that's 2. A per 1,000 base. If I had a rider, that's 4 charges. Now 5, we have a cost of insurance. That's a ton of insurance, you know, Jared, my advisor. That's a lot. And furthermore, when I go down here and I add them all together, that's almost $40,000 that we're talking in charges. All right. So at this point, if you don't know where to go from here, my reaction would just be kind of like a deer in headlights. Yeah, you're right. That is a lot of charges. 5 of them. I guess I didn't read it too closely. $40,000 is a lot of money. Let's look at maybe an annuity or something else. All right. But if you know how to go to this and pivot, you'll be able to stop them in their tracks. And what I'm doing is I'm looking at the total amount of money taken out versus the amount put in. All right, so I'm going to go down here. I'm going to zoom in. I paid $120,000. All right, right here, this number right here. I took out $420,000, which means I had access to $300,000 of gain. All right, $300,000 of gain. If this were a stock, you would have been paying this as you were earning that gain. Okay, you are making a reasonable amount of money, put you in the 30% tax bracket. All right, but you're also, if you're in California, 10% more. We're just going to say about 35% because Illinois might be reasonable as far as state taxes. So as you were getting this, you were paying money out of your taxes. You're roughly paying on that $300,000 about 35% in taxes. All right, which works out to $105. You probably can't see this. $105,000. All right. So if you would have had this in a stock, you wouldn't have had all those charges. You're right. But if you would have had it in a stock, you would have been paying gains while you were employed, while you were in a high tax bracket. You would have probably paid between federal and state about $105,000 over the life of this policy. But what you did is you put it in this life insurance policy and you paid $49,000 for a product that also provided a death benefit if you were to pass away early. So would you have rather paid $49,000 to this product that you got that offered the death benefit, or $105,000 to Uncle Sam? And I think at that point, your point has been made. Okay, so that was the quick version of it. So I knew I was in a time crunch, but it's a great conversation to have. Once I have it, you know, if they're fighting at that point, I don't know. You tell me how you handle that, because I don't know at that point. But it really puts things into perspective for me. It puts perspective for a lot of people who watch it.
Absolutely, and you know, you had life insurance all along as well. So I think.
Yep.
You know, one of the things I know, Jared, is there are engineers that not only buy these policies, but they buy them and put tremendous amount of money into them. I know of some really high-end people and really sophisticated people that do it. The great thing about our web model is that we have resources like Jared that's available to help you with with trainings like this. We have a whole team that's available for case design that's out there. You have your leaders, you have your trainers. So the good thing to know is that there's really no fish too big and no fish too small. We'll work with somebody who's starting out, and if they need term insurance, if that's what's suitable, then of course we're going to put them there. But if they want some cash value here, you've got a couple of options. You know, I think of the Protector product. It's going to be a little bit more expensive than term, but it's going to also not perform the same way, right? It's going to have a cash value. And the accumulator with the cash value and the withdrawal rate. So I just think we've got everything here. The main thing we've got to do is get off this, when we get off this webinar today, is, you know, go and start conversations with people that might be interested in figuring out how to do this for themselves.
Yeah, and we'll be happy to be here to answer questions or work with you guys in the future with more sales ideas. We've got a lot of them that we haven't talked about yet with your office. So.
All right. Well, we're so excited to have you, Jared. Thank you for staying up late with us.
Yeah, no problem.
You were great. And enjoy the rest of your night there in Columbus.
Yeah. Thanks for having me back. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. So
Bye.
we're going to